the Peaceful Revolutionary. This is the first of two videos that are like time-lapsed because I'm currently away on vacation. I recorded these at mid-September with the previous video, along with another one which is going to be published next week. And I'm really excited because this is a scientific one. And as you guys know, I love science and I love how things work. And I did a double whammy in this video because it's two technologies that involve bacteria in very innovative ways and revolutionary ways that will allow us to progress further, be healthier, also consume less resources and things like that. So without further ado, here are the two really great research elements that I've uncovered and I've received in my boxes and whatnot. The first one is a new treatment for cancer. Now, as you know, there's a wide variety of means of cancer treatment. If it's caught early, and there's a tumor, you can remove the tumor, and hopefully everything's good because it's not everywhere in the body and kind of like spread where you can't do any surgery. So you can just remove the tumor and you're fine. So that's cool. That's still very, very valid right now because it doesn't really have long-term effects unless the tumor is huge and you lose a breast or lose a testicle, depending on where the cancer is and how the size of the tumor and whatnot. So there are some effects, but it still doesn't have like really like heavy, like long-lasting, painful repercussions in general. Then if it gets further, usually you get into chemotherapy, which is terrible. You're injected on a regular basis with a cocktail of chemicals that is designed to kill the cancer cells, but at the same time, it's extremely toxic, and you're killing a whole bunch of other cells. You lose your hair, you feel super sick for a long time, and really, it's a great pharmaceutical business because these things cost a lot of money, and pharmaceuticals love it because they make a lot of money on essentially the suffering of the patients. However, the patients, it's a great way. It's one of the better ways to treat cancer that is spread, and some people manage to survive because of it. So we use it, right? If it works, you're going to use it if you want to live. Now, this new technology using bacteria, mind you, is a way to replace chemotherapy. Not replace chemotherapy. No, it's still chemotherapy, but using way less chemicals and concentrating it in exactly the tumors or the areas you want to affect. In particular, in this case, you're talking about tumors for this particular treatment. It's a Polytechnique in Montreal, Canada, University of Montreal, and there's a partnership. What they did is they took a bacteria that is flagellated, which means it has a little tail that kind of rotates like a motor. So it drives itself. Okay, it moves on its own, and they chose a bacteria that has a couple of properties. One is that it produces a nanoparticle that is magnetic. It's like a magnet inside it, and so it produces that naturally. And the second part, it has a capacity to kind of hold in bacillus chemicals without harming itself, and it's also being modified to release those bacillus, those chemicals that are inside its bodies, so the chemicals we want, I forgot the term, the special term here, when there's a lack of oxygen, and this special word, I'm looking for it, hypoxic zones, hypoxic zone. These are zones that have a lack of oxygen. And tumors, because naturally what the problem with tumors is that they grow faster, they keep reproducing, and by reproducing quite a lot, they consume a lot more oxygen than healthy cells. So when this bacteria, like if injected in the body, gets into an area that is a hypoxic zone, I have difficulty saying it, it automatically releases its charge of chemicals in that area. Now, these hypoxic zones are known to be very resistant to a lot of therapies, including radiotherapy. I don't really understand why they would be resistant to radiotherapy, but apparently it's more resistant. Um, the lack of oxygen, I'm not sure. Anyway, radiotherapy. Anyway, I'm not sure why the lack of oxygen would cause that. There's probably some bit of information I don't know here. But in any case, a lot of therapies make it difficult to attack those tumors. But in this case, the bacteria, they're not affected by it. In fact, when they get to that area, they release their payload. So instead of injecting a whole body with a bunch of chemicals, which is super sickening and it affects all the tissues, what they intend to start doing, hopefully soon, because it's still laboratory, it's not a treatment yet for humans, is to inject about 100 million of these bacteria that are loaded with proper chemicals inside the body, and again, it produces its own kind of magnet or magnetic nanoparticles to be guided that will be attracted by magnets. And what the doctors can do is they can essentially, like I'm simplifying it, but essentially put a magnet near where the tumor is to attract the bacterias in that exact spot, because they won't release their chemicals until they're in a hypoxic zone. So if there's plenty of oxygen in the body, they kind of keep the chemicals inside them. They kind of move around with their little tail, and they try to hit when they get into a hypoxic zone, guided by a magnet, because they have this magnetic head that they produce, for example. Then they release the chemicals. So you can have, like, instead of, I don't know how many chemicals are injected, let's say 30 cc's of chemicals injected, maybe you need like 5 cc's. And not only that, but it's only going to be released inside the tumor, where you actually want things to be to get killed. So two things. One, you don't have a whole body effect of those nasty chemicals. And secondly, potentially you can use chemicals that are way stronger in those bacteria if we repeat the process and it's safe to do so. Because this is still research and good research at that, and it's going to hit the tumor harder without affecting the other tissues. So great stuff using bacteria here. So I'm going to look into that and see when that can come out as a treatment, because that's really interesting. And to boot, like using bacteria like that, it's like using robots. I mean, because they're moved. Like why create a mechanical robot if you can use nano robots essentially that are biological, like bacteria of different types? Just modify them to make them work for you. So these bacteria could probably reformatted to treat different problems in the body. You can use the magnet to kind of direct them in different areas, and then do certain things in different areas using different triggers depending on the bacteria and the genetics, and we can modify the genetics accordingly. So this is really cool, really good stuff. Now the second bacteria use I want to talk about is water treatment. Because I mean, water treatment is actually really important. Of course, we want good drinking water, but I mean, it takes a lot of energy to clean up dirty water and recycle it into the pool of water, or eject it into the rivers, depending. Like we need to clean up that dirty water, right? Whether it's for drinking or to release back in nature. And what happens is that, like in the States, about 3% of the nation's energy use is in cleaning and treating water. That's quite a bit. And that's because it takes a lot of electricity to process the dirty water. It takes there's a bunch of processes. Even sometimes we've been using for a long time bacteria to kind of nibble at the sludge to remove it, and that creates a what do we call it, microbial cake in the water treatment plant. And you need to sterilize, stabilize, and remove that cake, which takes a lot of energy as well. And you need to stop the processes and kind of cycle that, and you need to clean that out. So, and that takes energy as well. So you always have some energy. Now, with this team in Cambrian Innovation, this is in Boston, what they figured out is, again, it's another type of bacteria that they've put into a fuel cell process, and what it does, it converts one cell converts 2,250 liters of sewage. So this is really ejected water to treat into enough clean water for at least 15 people. So you're treating sewage, and you generate drinkable water, clean water for 15 people. But the kicker is that these bacteria, while they work, they generate electricity. So the whole process of, actually, back up the truck. It generates electricity, but it also, because it generates electricity the way it does, it kind of, as it eats, it generates an electron and expulses an electron, which is kind of like a battery. Because it does that, it kind of limits the growth of the bacteria. So you don't deal with a microbial cake at all to clean up. The bacteria is not a problem. It kind of stays in the water, dissolve in smaller numbers. It doesn't cake up and make up like the usual cakes when it cakes up, because eventually the bacteria just kind of eat everything up, and it becomes like 1/3 of the mass of the water treated, so it cakes up. I mean, it becomes like a sludge, not a sludge, but a solid, right? But this bacteria doesn't get that far because of the way it metabolizes. So it generates electricity, but you don't need to clean it up either. So in essence, we can recuperate if we convert all the water treatment plants to this microbial fuel cell. You can recuperate 3% of electricity use in the country in any country, which is great because that's environmentally friendly. And you don't deal with potential bacteria that needs to be cleaned up and all that stuff, because it kind of stays, but it doesn't remain a problem. So that's really, really cool stuff. I mean, I talk a lot about energy generation and alternatives. I mean, uh, this is about saving electricity. So you don't need to generate your own to actually make things happen. That's awesome, and it's using nature, using little tiny organic machines and modified in different ways to make something happen really cool. So I'm going to also follow this and see if it goes into application in water treatment plants, because I mean, it's a great idea. Why not? All right, so that's going to be it for this video. I wish you a good week, and distribute the knowledge, and make sure you take action on what you feel would be right for humanity, as always. So have a good one. Ciao for now.